Hello, namaskar. Welcome to the special edition of Arth Culture Fest. I'm Swaroop Banerjee of Z Life, and today with me in conversation is Gauranga Das, leadership at Iskcon, Director Strategy and Communications of the Govardhan Eco Village. Hare Krishna, Gauranga Das ji.
Hare Krishna. Nice meeting you, Swaroop. Welcome.
Nice to see you too. Nice to see you. Thank you so much for making time for our viewers today. And there is a lot in conversation that we want to hear from you about the Krishna festival and Janmashtami and your efforts at Iskcon. Before we begin, however, into the conversation, I'd like to tell our viewers a little bit about Arth. Arth was founded with the idea of making Indic thought and ancient Indian knowledge accessible to young Indians today. Our aim was always to dispel any cynicism attached to the Indian culture, to celebrate India across all her dimensions, and as a result, celebrate Indian festivals in their truest sense, keeping in mind the stories and the learnings associated with them. Prabhuji, being just a few days away from Janmashtami, this seems to be a good time to speak about the origins of the festivals and the teachings from it. The Krishna consciousness, I must tell you, and the teachings of Krishna have been a very, very deep part of Arth. Whether it was His Holiness Radhanath Swamiji, who spoke about Bhakti Yoga, whether it was Tijan Bai that performed the Pandavni, Vivek Debroy and Lord Meghnad Desai that decoded the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, and of course yourself and your star disciple Jay Shetty, when you discussed the art of resilience through your book, which was very amazing. But what exactly is Krishna consciousness, Prabhuji, and how is it relevant in today's time, especially during the 125th birth anniversary of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada?
Thank you very much, Swaroop, for inviting me on Arth. It's a privilege to be with this wonderful event platform, which is trying to add value in people's lives. Coming to your question on Krishna consciousness, all of us have an identity which does not change, which is known as the consciousness. If you see that the body changes, the mind changes, the senses change, but if a 50-year-old man shows to his children a photo when he was 10 years old, he says, see, I was like this then. That means the unchanging I is referred to by all of us. That unchanging I is consciousness, and that unchanging I is the soul, and that soul is connected eternally to the Supreme Soul through a relationship of eternal service. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, Aham sarvasya prabho mattah sarvam pravartate. I am the origin of all. And so as members of Iskcon, we believe in the Bhagavad Gita statement that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so we have an eternal relationship with Him. The cause of depression, the cause of anxiety, the cause of various kinds of mental illnesses is inability to cope with change. Change is constant, change is inevitable, change is extremely difficult to handle. But Bhagavad Gita is teaching us that the only way to cope with change is to cling on to that element within you which never changes. So the soul and the soul's rays, the consciousness doesn't change. The soul's relationship with Krishna doesn't change, and Krishna doesn't change. So therefore, when in the midst of rapid change in society today, each and every one of us needs a platform to connect to which does not change, and that is Krishna consciousness. And the 125th anniversary of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, is a very special event for all of us, because it was he who is actually a divinely empowered messenger of Lord Krishna, who fulfills the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prophecy that the holy name of Lord Krishna will be spread in every town and village. Prithvi Tyache Jota Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Prachar Huibe Murana. And Thakur Bhaktivinoda's prediction that a personality will soon come who will uncover Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission and move unrestrictedly across the world. So Swaroop, just like if you have, Thomas Edison, who creates the electric bulb in America, but then that invention is of use to humanity across the world. So it is relevant. So, iPhone may have been invented in California, but practically all over the world, people are using it because it is helping solve problems in life. Similarly, the Bhagavad Gita has been born in the East, has been born in the land of India, specifically at Kurukshetra, when Krishna spoke the Gita to Arjuna. But he spoke it in a Sanskrit language. But the solution which the Gita can offer is so powerful that it needs to be spread across the whole world. And what is the solution which the Gita is offering? The Gita is actually offering a solution of how to cope with anxiety caused due to change in life, and how to cope and deal and face with the ultimate change all of us are going to face at the moment of death. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada's specific contribution was he took all of this knowledge from the Gita, from the Srimad Bhagavatam, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he took it in the English language and decoded it in the English language, because even as Indians, most of us are not proficient with Sanskrit. And he went to America in 1965, established in Iskcon in 1966. And in the 11 years till he was on this planet, in those 11 years from 66 to 77, he built over 100 temples and farm communities, traveled across the whole world 14 times, wrote and translated more than 80 books, including the Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Those days you did not have the cell phone. So he actually communicated with disciples across the world simply by writing letters, and over 7,000 letters he practically hand wrote. And he had such a grueling schedule that he would be speaking, traveling, directing temples to be built in the daytime, and then at night he would actually from almost 12 at night till early morning 6 o'clock, he would be dictating in the dictaphone by seeing the Sanskrit texts and Bengali texts and translating it to English from all the different acharyas commentaries, and dictated more than 22,000 pages of text and initiated more than 5,000 disciples. And in the day when people would come and have conversations with him, every word of what he spoke was recorded by the disciples and has been published as recorded conversations in more than 48 volumes. And his audio lectures, or whatever he spoke in lectures in the morning and in the evening, many times in the temple and in other programs, they have been transcribed and published in more than 18 volumes. And he established Bhaktivedanta Book Trust International, a very unique publishing house, which for the first time has taken Vedic wisdom and philosophy, which is supposed to be very heavy, very difficult to understand and digest, and it usually never becomes mainstream. But he took that and he inserted such beautiful artwork to make it so attractive, lucid, and easy for people to understand and connect with, that over the last 55 years, Bhaktivedanta Book Trust International has published and distributed to the people more than 500 million pieces of literature connected to the Gita, Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And therefore, we as followers of Iskcon really want to acknowledge his contribution to the entire planet by bringing in Vedic wisdom to every town and village, every continent across the world. And that is the specific significance of Janmashtami 2021, because Srila Prabhupada was born on the day after Janmashtami on Nandotsav. So this year, that day is coming to be August 31st, 2021. And thanks to Artha for partnering with Iskcon in this historic occasion. And thanks to you, Swaroop, for always being ahead of everyone in being extremely proactive to organize such conversations.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. It is so wonderful to hear you transcend the Vedic boundaries and bring in relevances, like whether it's Thomas Edison or taking on your cue from the Apple iPhone. And it is very well known that whether it is Steve Jobs from Apple or the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, everyone around the world, thousands of world leaders, millions of people have been inspired by Srila Prabhupada's preachings. If you had to sum up and simplify his message for the younger Indian, the younger world people today, what would that be?
Srila Prabhupada basically uh, spread the message of the Bhagavad Gita. And the message of the Bhagavad Gita can be summarized in 4 points. The Gita teaches each one of us to conquer over these four tendencies. The first is our tendency to consume. All of us feel attracted by sense objects and indulge in sense gratification, even though it may be unhealthy for us to do so. So, the Gita first teaches us how to conquer over our tendency to consume. Second, the Gita teaches us that all of us have tendency to control, and history has seen so many powerful dictators who, because of this tendency to control, they just lost control over themselves, and the urge to control is extremely strong. So when Arjuna tells Krishna that I want to become non-violent and I want to go to the forest and become a beggar and not fight, so Krishna looked at Arjuna and he said that the problem with you is that you are a fighter, but you are running away from your duties and responsibilities. So you think that by changing the circumstances, you can actually change the situation. That may be true to a certain extent. But as a warrior, when you go and try begging, and when people insult you, the warrior within you will come out and you will attack the very person who's insulting you, even though you may have taken up the profession of begging, because your nature is something you have not yet conquered and controlled. So, therefore, as soon as there is relationships between two people, each person tries to control the other person in the relationship, and behind closed doors in families, so much of violence is happening that Luxembourg is experiencing 88% divorce rate, Spain is experiencing 65% divorce rate, France 55% divorce rate, Russia 51% divorce rate, America 46% divorce rate. The global divorce rate is 44%. And India still is fortunate to have one of the lowest divorce rates at 1% only. But the point is that the Gita is teaching us that the urge to control, which springs from the false ego, needs to be conquered over. Otherwise, it will spoil every facet of our life. The third tendency which Gita is, recommending that we control is the urge to convince others. So, all of us feel that my opinion is the best, my opinion is superior, and so many arguments and needless kinds of ego battles happen. And the urge to convince others is something which needs to be controlled, and unless we try our level best to follow some of the principles which Krishna is recommending to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, we will find ourselves prey to this urgent tendency to convince others. And the fourth, very important, is that Krishna is saying, my dear Arjuna, please try to conquer over your urge to compete. There is enough in this world, enough in this planet. Govardhan Eco Village is in Palghar district. Swaroop, you'll be shocked to know that the average income in Palghar is actually 27,000 rupees per annum. The population is 30 lakhs of, in the entire Palghar district, over 8 talukas. But the average income per annum is 27,000 rupees, which translates to something like 2,500 rupees a month. And people are living like this. And so there are people in the cities who seem to be living in a perpetual state of dissatisfaction, not seeing what they have but seeing what others have, and constantly trying to compete. And this was the problem with Duryodhan. The term Duryodhan is very interesting. Dur plus Yodhan. Yodhan means to fight or tendency to fight, and Dur means wrong cause. So Duryodhan was dedicated to spend every moment of his life simply trying to fight for a wrong cause. And what was that wrong cause? His only mission in life was to try to outdo Yudhishthir and the Pandavas. And therefore, Duryodhan, who was supposed to be a servant leader, ultimately spent his entire life just being obsessed with competing against the Pandavas and ultimately paid for his life. So let us not think that Mahabharata and Ramayana and some of these literatures are age-old, ancient, wisdom literatures, which are not relevant for us in today's day and times. And therefore, I appreciate Swaroop what Z is doing by running this platform of Artha, which is really bringing contemporary wisdom, ancient wisdom, specifically with respect to applying in practical day to day lives, in our family lives, in our corporate lives, in our social relationships. The need of the hour is to apply all of this. And Srila Prabhupada's contribution was to take these wisdom literatures, especially the Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, translated by giving purports in such a way that people across 600 temples across 6 continents uh, are actually having facility to connect with this knowledge. If you are in rural space, Iskcon is running 65 farm communities across the whole world. As I said before, 52 crore books have been published and distributed by the BBT, and more than 300 crore free sanctified meals have been distributed, because Srila Prabhupada also believed that across the temple, around the temple, there should be spaces where no one should feel that they are not being cared for. And therefore, every single day, ISKCON is distributing 3 million plates of prasadam through the free food distribution program in the midday meal schemes. And if you go to ISKCON temples across the world, 5 crore people are worshipping every single year, visiting the temples and worshipping. ISKCON also established a Padyatra in the 70s, and more than 260,000 kilometers have been traversed in 52,000 towns and villages by this Padyatra team by carrying the DTs and distributing books. As far as restaurant is concerned, Srila Prabhupada came up with a beautiful plan that families love to go out for dinner or lunches in restaurants. So Srila Prabhupada revolutionized the whole concept of how a temple will be by adding an element of a guest house and a restaurant, and more than 110 Govindas or Hare Krishna restaurants are there across the whole world. And festivals are part of Vedic culture. 6,000 Hare Krishna festivals are held across the whole world. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada has brought our ancient Vedic wisdom, tradition, and culture in such a user friendly manner that the entire community across the whole world, in different countries across the world, can get an authentic taste of what Vedic tradition is. And I think this collaboration between ISKCON and Artha is really amazing, because both of us are having this mission of bringing the ancient tradition in practice for the contemporary corporate and the housewives and children.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And with this, I want to tell our viewers a little bit about the Janmashtami and the Krishna festival that you're hosting. And before that, I just want to leave our viewers with the live streaming of the Janmashtami Krishna festival celebrations are going to be taking place streamed live on Arth's the Facebook page, on Arth's the YouTube handles from the 30th of August, 10 p.m. onwards. Roji, with the last question, what can we experience and expect when we watch this stream? Considering the current situation, you mentioned in the beginning that you would have very much, like the years that you have done it in person. But what can devotees experience, and how can they participate through the stream this year when you host the Krishna Festival?
Yeah, first of all, whoever is aware about this Krishna Fest, they would have logged in and connect to this stream, which is going on from 22nd of August all the way till 31st of August. It's been created and curated specifically to give each and every viewer a direct live devotional spiritually enlivening Janmashtami experience at home. And this will include, number one, there will be beautiful melodious kirtans which will enliven your heart and lighten your mood. Second, you would have the beautiful abhishek of the deities of Radha and Krishna. The day Krishna appeared in Mathura, immediately Vasudeva took him across and placed him next to Yashoda Mai. And the day after Krishna was born, Nanda Maharaj celebrated Krishna's appearance. So therefore, what was celebrated in Gokul is known as Nandotsav. That is the day of Srila Prabhupada's appearance day. So that Abhishek which was done by Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, that Abhishek of Krishna with the milk, yogurt, honey, ghee, sugar water, fruit juices, you would be able to see that live happening there. For those who want to participate, there are options in the Krishna Fest platform where you could actually, make a contribution, become a yajaman, be part of that abhishek, be part of the yagya. And then, of course, you'll be able to witness amazing dramas and very culturally recreated events from Krishna's life, along with the final grand finale of the Arati ceremony. And the next day after Janmashtami on 31st, you will be able to see Srila Prabhupada's appearance day celebrations being streamed live. So this is just a gist of some of the items which you could experience.
It is beautiful, and I'm sure world over, across platforms, people will be logging if they haven't already on the Krishna Fest platform. And once again, when we start live streaming this on the 30th of August, 10 p.m. onwards, on both Arth Facebook and Arth YouTube, all the Arth viewers across overseas and India will look forward to this. Gauranga Das, I want to thank you. First of all, for always allowing us at Artha to associate with Iskcon and your movement, and being a part of it, and deliberating every time with me through other speakers on the Arth platform. And someday, when we're back live at the festival, where thousands of people come over 3 days to the Arth Festival in Delhi and Calcutta, I'm hoping that you will open the festival and speak with us over there. And with that, Gauranga Das ji, I'm thanking you and Iskcon, the Golden Eco Village, on behalf of Arth, my founder, Srimati Shresi Goenka, and wish you all the best for the Krishna Festival.
Thank you very much, Swaroop.